This has been a long time coming. It's the latest from Mitsubishi, their first new model in years, and it targets the heart of the increasingly popular Canadian crossover scene. You're looking at the new Eclipse Cross, named in part for the Mitsubishi Eclipse sports car like the one Paul Walker drove in Fast and Furious. Today, the Eclipse is long retired, but people still remember it, so the marketing folks figured they'd borrow the name and use it here on a new crossover, leveraging a bit of the brand's past to help secure a place in the future. After all, today, in general, sports cars don't really sell. They don't carry a mainstream automaker. They're not really important, but crossovers, and especially ones like this, are. Which is why, as a business decision, if you are to launch just one vehicle in Canada this year, making it something like this is the way to go. Note that later, I'll provide some competitive comparison to other models, but I'd encourage you to do your own against whatever you might be cross-shopping, mostly since Eclipse Cross's size and pricing make it hard to place. It's in a sort of gray zone between other smaller and larger machines, filling a weird size gap between segments, and you can bet that's on purpose.
So, what's it like? Should the competition be worried? And more importantly, should you put one of these on your shortlist? Well, let's take a closer look.
You've noticed that Eclipse Cross packs a collection of styling elements designed to give the shopper something of importance, a unique look. Love it or hate it, there's no denying that this is distinctive and unique. There's no mistaking it for something else, and with all of Mitsubishi's latest styling tweaks and touches applied, it carries the brand's face onto the scene with no second guessing. Like a Lexus or Cadillac or BMW, just a quick look tells you what brand is behind this machine. On board, it's much the same. There's familiarity if you've owned other modern Mitsubishi models, and you'll feel right at home in many ways. A dark and simple interior color palette, busy looking but mostly easy to use control consoles, a simple and informative instrument cluster, switches and stalks, and even the steering wheel are familiar too. You won't mistake this for an Audi when you hop inside, but for the money, the interior should satisfy in terms of looks and feel. And targeting a shopper after something a little more upscale and luxurious, and helping back up the nearly 28 grand starting price, the interior is trimmed using plenty of stitching and contrasting materials to dial up the sophistication, and most of the right materials are in most of the right places too.
Incidentally, that 28 grand starting price is within a few bucks of machines like the Honda CR-V and Toyota RAV4. Now, those are bigger than the Eclipse Cross, which mostly counts smaller utes like the Subaru Crosstrek, Nissan Qashqai, and Toyota CHR as its competitors. But if for that much money you're okay with giving up a little size in exchange for all-wheel drive, or as Mitsubishi calls it, super all-wheel control, well, here's a viable option.
That super all-wheel control system is part of a powertrain that's arguably the Eclipse Cross's biggest asset. You get a 1.5-liter Turbo 4, good for 152 horsepower, which is fine, but that's backed by a solid 184 pounds of torque, which blows many competitors, however you define them, clean out of the water. So here's a little engine that performs better than the numbers lead on, and it works nicely with the paddle-shiftable CVT transmission in most situations. The all-wheel drive system is invisible and seamless, though you can deploy various modes with this toggle button for snow or gravel, for instance. And best, however you drive this thing, the powertrain is smooth and refined and easygoing on a world-class level. All that low-end torque means you need very few revs to get things moving, and with no gears to shift, power is delivered on a smooth and seamless wave. Even pushed, the engine never sounds unpleasant. The drivetrain rarely breaks its composure, and actually, you'll want to make sure you use the cruise control. Here's a machine that really likes to sneak up well past the speed limit on the slide. This engine isn't an out-and-out powerhouse, but it is smooth and quiet and well-behaved. Ride and handling are a mixed bag. The suspension is comfort first, feeling soft, forgiving, and durable, provided you're driving on a fairly smooth road. But unlike some of the best-riding crossovers in this segment, like the Crosstrek and especially the CHR, rougher roads can knock the ride quality back a few notches at times, and comfort is a little too easily degraded by rougher surfaces than I like. All said, it feels great on the highway, smooth and a quiet and comfy long-distance cruiser, but I'd recommend focusing your test drive on the roughest roads available around town to confirm comfort levels. On the functionality front, I noted no issues with entry or exit, and front and rear seats are boarded with a simple lateral butt slide and slight plop down if you're about average height and proportions like me. Decent rear seat head and legroom for anyone in back, and up front much the same, and I love the easy access to numerous storage cubbies and charge points to help keep organized and juiced up on the go. Looking ahead, you've got a good driving position and a tall windshield for a commanding view outward. Blind spots are big, but the blind spot monitoring system helps compensate. Further back, though the split rear window is nobody's favorite styling element, it does help you see more out the rear of the vehicle, enhancing situational awareness. Other notes, the cargo hold is what you'd expect. Flexible, relatively generous, wide, easy to load, and it even has handy bins built into the rear outer corners to help keep smaller items secure. Gripes were mostly minor. The tailgate is hinged a little strangely and needs a good tug to close with authority, and the central touchscreen display with this tactile trackpad controller are simple to use, though graphics are looking dated and there's no volume knob, only buttons, which freaks some people out. Also, at times, the steering feels a little too quick for the softness of the suspension, meaning that you may feel like you've startled the machine when dialing in a steering input on the highway at speed. So, is Eclipse Cross worthy of your investigation? The answer is yes, and especially if a refined driveline, a long warranty, and decent roominess for your buck are high on your wish list. Should the competition be worried? No, not really. Every machine in this segment has strengths and weaknesses. None is head and shoulders above or below the others. It's all up to what you're after. Plus, this compact crossover scene is exploding and there's room for everyone. Cross-shopping? Note that the fantastic-looking Toyota CHR has the best ride and handling balance going, even on rough roads, but you can't get all-wheel drive and it's hard to see out of. The Subaru Crosstrek rides nicely and has a highly respected all-wheel drive system, but you might find it a little short on power. The Nissan Qashqai is a great all-around package, though it gets a bit pricey when loaded up, and it can't match the Mitsubishi's output or warranty coverage. So, Eclipse Cross falls a touch short on the ride and steering side of the equation, but compensates with arguably the segment's best powertrain where refinement and output are concerned. The interior is pretty darn good, so is the highway driving experience. You get all of the must-have features, and Mitsubishi's famous 10-year warranty applies too. It's always nice to have choices, after all. Thanks for watching.